Sacha Boisvert is transferring to Boston University for his sophomore season. I'll break down why we can expect a massive year out of Boisvert.
You're Locked On Blackhawks, your daily podcast on the Chicago Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into another episode of Locked On Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Jack Bushman. Go and check me out on X at Jack Bushman2, but make sure to follow my Strictly Blackhawks account at Talkin' Hockey. That way you don't miss out on any of the latest Blackhawks news and updates. On today's episode, I'll keep my new prospect preview series going with 2024 first-round pick Sacha Boisvert. Then for segment 2, I'll break down the assistant coach duties for Mike Velluci, Michael Peca, and Anders Sorensen that were recently revealed. And I'll also touch on former assistant Derek King getting the head coaching gig for the Hershey Bears in the AHL. Real quick, though, have to let you all know that today's episode is sponsored by Monarch Money. Go and take control of your finances right now by using our promo code LOCKEDONNHL in all caps at monarchmoney.com, and you'll also get 50% off on your first year. All right, Blackhawks fans, my new prospect preview series debuted yesterday with the third pick in the 2025 NHL Draft, Anton Frondell. Make sure to go and check out that show if you haven't done so yet to hear my full preview of Frondell's year with Djurgårdens in the SHL. Today, I'll be previewing the sophomore season for Sacha Boisvert, who was selected 18th in the 2024 NHL Draft, a player that I really love, a guy who just cracked the top 5 of my recent Blackhawks prospect list. And of course, he's transferred from North Dakota to Boston University for his sophomore year after Brad Berry was fired by North Dakota, longtime head coach there, the guy who reportedly recruited Sacha Boisvert since he was like 14 years old. So because of that, Boisvert elected to hit the transfer portal, and I think he made a really savvy decision by landing with Boston University, one of the best programs in the country with one of the best head coaches as well in Jay Pandolfo. So excited to get into the expectations for Sacha Boisvert as well as his projected role with the Terriers and what he kind of needs to work on in everything we're looking at before he likely turns professional should all things go well for him this season with BU. But for Boisvert, he's now listed at 6'2", 183 pounds, largely played the center ice position last year as a freshman with North Dakota, and he did just turn 19 years old back in March. And in that freshman year with North Dakota, he was tremendous, tallied 32 points, 18 goals, and 14 assists in 37 games to lead the Fighting Hawks in goals, shots, and points. He also shot 19.1% for the season, in which, with the way that Sacha Boisvert shoots the puck, his power and his accuracy, I don't think that's an outlier type of number for Boisvert. I think he should be shooting 15 to 20% at this level. He's that good of a goal scorer. And 5 of his 18 goals on the season came from the power play variety. And why I'm also encouraged and believe that he's going to have an even bigger year this year with the Terriers is because he only averaged 16 minutes and 12 seconds per game last season with North Dakota, which was like fifth or sixth most out of all their forwards. He was largely playing in a second to third line center role early on in the year. But once the NCHC tournament rolled around, because of his production and because he was really the driving force of their offense, especially the goal scoring side of things, he was their top line center once it reached that point of the year. And he was also the NCHC Rookie of the Year, named to the NCHC All-Tournament team as well. So all across the board, a really solid freshman season for Sacha Boisvert, one of the best freshmen in the entire country. And that takes us to his sophomore year with Boston University. Starting here with his projected role for 25-26, the first thing I want to mention is how many key pieces from the top 9 forward group that Boston University is losing this year. They're going to be without Shane LaChance, Ryan Green, who we obviously know has made the leap to pro hockey. Quinn Hudson is gone, along with Matt Capone, Jack Hughes, and David Kaplan. Those were all players who played top 9 roles pretty consistently for Boston University down the stretch of the season. So there's going to be a lot of open spots, a lot of positions up for grabs for guys to go and take early on in the season or during training camp. But in terms of right here, right now, who I figure to be the key pieces of this forward group for Boston University. Cole Yzerman, former first-round pick. We know he's going to be returning for his sophomore season. Then we have Sacha Boisvert. Jack Harvey is coming back. He was a top 6 piece at times for BU last year. Ryder Ritchie is going to be coming in as a freshman. Kamil Bednarik also is going to be returning, as is Brandon Savoda, who played a second to third line center role at times for them last year. So just kind of taking a stab at things right here, right now, which I know things can change. We're only in the middle of August, but I really do expect Sacha Boisvert, considering this forward group, how it projects at this point in time. I see no reason for him not to be their top line center to begin the year. I really think there's a good chance he's going to open up in that spot, probably with Cole Yzerman on his wing, and then maybe either Ryder Ritchie or Jack Harvey on the other side of things. At the center ice position, it's him, Svoboda, and Svoboda and Bednarik are going to be their 3 key returning setters. I do believe Ryder Ritchie can play the center ice position as well, but he's going to be an incoming freshman. So for lots of different reasons, and in addition to the strong freshman season that Boisvert had last year, like I said, I really expect him to be the top line center iceman to open up the season. And then I also expect him to, with the shot that he has and with how well he produced on the power play last year, I think he's going to be a staple of that top power play unit as well. Going to be interesting to see where exactly he's going to be used, though, because Cole Yzerman, another really good goal scoring left-handed shot. Will it be Yzerman on the right circle with Boisvert on the left dot? Will it be reversed? Could we see Sacha Boisvert in the bumper role, which is actually something I'll be talking about a little bit more here in just a second. But either way, Sacha Boisvert is going to be a key piece of the Terriers' offense this season, both on the power play and at 5-on-5. I'm expecting him, though, to be the team's top line center. As far as what I'm kind of looking for out of Sacha Boisvert and things to work on and what I want to see him kind of fine-tune, what's kind of funny is he has a little bit of a similar-ish makeup to Anton Frondell. Both, 6'1", 6'2". Frondell is the one who's a little more built out at this point in time. But talking about their offensive makeup, both are known for their goal-scoring abilities. Both, I really do believe, have the potential to be elite shots at the next level. Probably Frondell a little bit more than Boisvert, but I've mentioned recently when I broke down his game in my updated prospects list, I really do think he has the capabilities to be a 30 goal scorer at the next level. The way that this dude can fire the biscuit, tons of power on it, knows how to shoot the one-timer from the right dot, scored a couple of beautiful one-timer goals last season. So yeah, he's going to be a key piece of this offense. But in terms of rounding out his goal scoring a little bit more, I want to continue to see him add strength to that one-timer, keep dialing that in a little bit. We know the wrist shot has tons of power. I do want to see him, though, become a little bit more of a diverse goal scorer, both in terms of 5-on-5 and also just getting to the dirtier areas and scoring goals from in tight, because he does have that size at 6'2". I know he's a little bit underweight right now at only 183 pounds, but he's another kid who performed really well at the scouting combine a couple of years ago. Supposedly takes a lot of boxing classes and is all in all just known for his work ethic. So I want to continue to see him go to those dirty areas with a purpose and utilize some of his size in those spots, because I do think that's the type of player that he wants to be long-term, and he's going to have to gain some weight in order to have some success there. So I think adding some more weight, continuing to get stronger, and rounding out those goal-scoring abilities in those dirty areas, that's something I'm looking for out of Sacha Boisvert this season as well. And I want to continue to see him strive in those playmaking areas too. Watching his highlights and from some of the games that I watched last year, it's clear he sees the ice super well, and he's got really good playmaking abilities, especially when, he's got a 3-on-2 rush. He knows how to manipulate defenders to find an open teammate on the power play. I think he does a really good job of, weaponizing his shot, knowing that defenders are going to cheat over to him at times, and he knows how to find teammates open in front of the net or pass it to the other dot to set up one of his teammates. He's got really good knowledge, offensive IQ, and just in general good passing abilities, but I want to see it more happen off of the cycle because a lot of it's coming in transition, a lot of it's coming on the power play. So to add to kind of his 5-on-5 scoring this year, both in the goal scoring department and in the playmaking. Those are two areas where I want to see Sacha Boisvert make some improvements and just in general become a little bit more of a driving force at even strength this season. And I mentioned a moment ago about the bumper roll. I don't know if it's going to come this season with BU because he's not under the Blackhawks guidance. And there are still things to figure out long-term for this Blackhawks offense and like how they want to set up the power play. Is it going to be Anton Frondel on the right dot? Is it going to be Sacha Boisvert? There are things that, it's going to take years to figure out the answers to that question. But I do think with the way that Sacha Boisvert can shoot the puck and the way that it jumps off of his stick in a hurry, I do think the bumper roll could be a very intriguing spot for him on the power play, just given Connor Bedard is going to command a lot of respect because of his shot over there on the left dot. I just think that could open things up potentially for someone who is a really good shooter like Sacha Boisvert, who has the puck jump off of his stick with tons of power in a hurry. I don't know if that's going to happen with BU this year, but I would like to see him again just get more comfortable in those dirty areas and recognizing how to make himself available in open space to get a shot off, because it doesn't have to be on his stick very long for it to be a quality scoring chance. So that's something I would like to see Boisvert work on this year, and as he continues to make the strides to the professional level. And then altogether, like I mentioned already, just continue to put on some weight, get a little bit stronger, hit the weight room, and become more of a force out there in all facets of the game in the defensive zone to become a little bit more well-rounded. And that's kind of the style of player Sacha Boisvert, like I mentioned, wants to play. High tenacity, not afraid of those dirty areas. To do that in the NHL and have success, he's got to be a little bit heavier than 183 pounds and got to be a little bit stronger than he is right here, right now. But to put a bow on Sacha Boisvert's sophomore season preview with Boston University, as far as what I expect out of Boisvert this year, like I already mentioned, I think he's going to be given all the opportunities in the world this season, and I think he's going to be a goal-scoring weapon for BU, along with Cole Eiserman, both at even strength and especially on the power play. And he should definitely be up there for the team's leading scorers. Absolutely should be in the top three. And there's a potential that he even leads the team in that category this season. So I expect Sacha Boisvert had 18 goals last year as a freshman on kind of a underwhelming North Dakota team. I definitely expect him to hit 20 goals here this season and hit 40 points for the first time at the college level. And I think there's even the possibility, depending on how good of a team BU is going to be offensively, they got a ton of defensive pieces. Quinn Hudson, Sasha Boumedian, Tom Villander, Aiden Celebrini, all are coming back for BU. They're going to be excellent defensively, and those guys are going to contribute on the offensive side of things too as well. This forward group isn't maybe as star-studded as you would think for a BU squad, but quite honestly, it's pretty similar to what it's been in years past, and they've obviously made late runs into the Frozen Four. So expect it to be another solid BU group. Like I said, 20 goals, 40 points should be pretty attainable for Sacha Boisvert. And I'm really excited to see how he's going to fare on that power play, along with guys like Cole Eiserman, Ryder Ritchie, so on and so forth. One thing I want to bring up as well, what I expect out of Sacha Boisvert before he likely turns pro at the end of the season, I expect him to be a harder-nosed two-way player. And just looking at the center iceman, especially the top line center iceman for BU since Jay Pandolfo took over as the head coach, the last two seasons, Macklin Celebrini, who is a hard-nosed, strong two-way player in the NHL. Ryan Green was the top line center for BU last year. Obviously, he's not at the same level as Sacha Boisvert. He doesn't have the same ceiling, and they're different type of players. But Ryan Green also goes about his business the right way and is a responsible two-way player. Sacha Boisvert brings the same things to the table, and I really do expect Jay Pandolfo to have him more ready than he is right here, right now, when he hopefully will be making the leap to the professional level following the conclusion of his sophomore season. I think it's going to be a monster year for Sacha Boisvert. I think he could be looked at as one of the best players in college hockey, had an outstanding freshman campaign, and should be given tons of opportunities in his first year with BU. That is going to wrap up Sacha Boisvert's prospect preview, Blackhawks fans. Let me know in the comment section down below how many points you think Sacha Boisvert is going to accumulate in his sophomore year with the Terriers. Coming up in just a moment here, Hawks fans, I'll break down the assistant coach duties for Mike Velluci, Michael Peca, and Anders Sorensen. Real quick, though, I do got to talk to you all about Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone like yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Well, it's easy. Just use Indeed, because when it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites, because Indeed Sponsored Jobs puts your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. So skip all of those unnecessary questions and steps, because now you can speed up your hiring process, and you'll also get a $75 sponsored job credit along with it. All you have to do is go and check out Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this very podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. Real quick before I get into segment 2, just a reminder to please go and subscribe to Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube if you haven't done so already, and enjoy the content that I'm producing here on a daily basis. And also go and let me know in the comment section down below which Blackhawks prospect you want to see featured next on my prospect preview series. Segment 2 on today's show, though, since the end of May, we have known that Jeff Blashill's staff will be rounded out by Mike Velluci, Michael Peca, and Anders Sorensen. I keep wanting to call him Matthew Peca. Sorensen, Velluci, and Peca are going to be the 3 assistants for the Hawks. That has been old news, but we didn't know exactly what roles they were going to fill up until the last couple of days. It's been reported that Blackhawks head coach Jeff Blashill has been talking over with his assistants throughout the course of the summer on Zoom. Obviously, they're going to meet up with training camp starting in just about a month's time, but they have established the roles now for each of these 3 assistants moving forward. Michael Peca and Mike Velluci will oversee the forward groups, with Peca coaching the penalty kill unit, while Velluci will be in charge of the power play. Anders Sorensen, who I know some Blackhawks fans felt a type of way about him sticking on with the NHL club, or let alone just remaining with the organization. He is going to be in charge of the defenseman, which is a job he was previously in charge of down with the Rockford Ice Hogs. And then, of course, Jimmy Waite is going to be remaining as the goaltender coach, as he's done for over the past decade now with the Blackhawks. But breaking down my thoughts on each of these 3 coaches and the roles that they're going to be playing as assistants. First, starting off with Mike Velluci, 59-year-old veteran who has been there, done that in like all facets of the game. He's been a front office executive and a coach since way back in 1994, and has held different roles like general manager, assistant GM, head coach. Sometimes he's done all 3 of them at the same time. He's also been the director of hockey ops, an assistant coach in the past as well. So he's a guy who has a ton of experience at the professional level, and even at the junior level as well. Was a longtime coach for the Plymouth Whalers in the OHL, won the Calder Cup as the head coach for the Charlotte Checkers back in the 2018-19 season, and was also named the AHL Coach of the Year there. And he most recently spent the last 5 seasons as an assistant with the Pittsburgh Penguins, with his duties being the penalty kill and the forward group. And then he was also an assistant for Team USA, most recently at the 2025 IIHF World Championships, where they went on to win a gold medal. So like I said, tons of experience here for Mike Velluci. And I do think for a younger head coach like Jeff Blashill, especially adding someone like Michael Peca, who's pretty on the young side of things as well, and Anders Sorensen doesn't have a ton of experience at the pro level, it was instrumental to go and get a seasoned veteran like Mike Velluci on this staff. I do think, though, it's interesting that he'll be in charge of the power play for the Blackhawks, considering he was actually, in his time as an assistant with the Penguins, he was mostly in charge of the penalty kill unit, was still working with their forwards, but the side of the special teams game that he was working with was the penalty kill. And Pittsburgh had a lot of success under his leadership in that area. The Penguins were top 12 on the PK in 3 of the 5 seasons with Velluci in that role, and they never finished worse than 19th in his 5 years there. So I did think that was a little bit interesting, but at the same point in time, Velluci is clearly the most experienced of all of these guys on the assistant coaching staff. So I think it does make sense to put him in that situation when that's kind of been an issue for the Blackhawks for a long time. And you see most of the best teams in the NHL usually strive in that area. I do understand Velluci being put there, even though that's not something he's been in charge of for the last half decade. For Michael Peca, young guy, like I mentioned, he's the same age as Jeff Blashill, both 51 years old, had a super long playing career and super successful one as well. 2-time Selke Trophy winner, played 864 games in the NHL, won the gold medal 3 times for Canada at the World Championship, the Olympics, and the World Juniors, the Triple Gold Club for Team Canada, if you will. His first pro assistant gig came with the Rochester Americans in the AHL as an assistant in 2021-2022, worked with some notable Sabres prospects like Jack Quinn, JJ Peterka, and Yuri Kulich in his time there, and he ran the power play with the Rochester Americans, where they were top 15 in the AHL in both of those seasons. The last 2 years, he was up in the NHL for the first time as an assistant with the New York Rangers, worked with them on the power play too, while also being instrumental at the faceoff dot. One of the best faceoff guys in NHL history, as I mentioned, known for his defensive prowess, winning 2 Selke Trophy awards, and the Rangers were just 5th in the NHL at the faceoff dot this past season at 52.9%. That is clearly a spot where the Blackhawks have largely struggled since the departure of Jonathan Taves, and for young guys like Connor Bedard and Frank Nazar, Bedsy, who has struggled in particular at the faceoff dot, I think the addition of Michael Peca is going to be huge in that department, as Yannick Perreault, clearly something just wasn't really clicking for him in terms of the prospects and the execution at the faceoff dot. So bringing in a guy like Michael Peca, who has been known for being a good faceoff dot guy, career 51% faceoff winner, makes a ton of sense. But like I said, Mike Velluci is the one who's going to be working on the power play, while Peca is going to be working on the penalty kill. And 2 seasons ago, when Peca was in charge of the Rangers power play unit, they were 3rd in the entire NHL in that department before kind of following off and being in the bottom 3rd of the league this year. So I just thought that was a bit of an interesting development, but I will say it does make sense, again, for a defensive-minded guy like Michael Peca, who played on the penalty kill as well and was in a lot of defensive situations. It does make sense for him to handle those penalty kill duties, even though he most recently worked on the power play for the Rangers, and Mike Velluci most recently worked on the penalty kill for the Penguins. Going to be interesting to kind of see how that plays out for the Blackhawks special teams department early on in the season. And then Anders Sorensen, like I said, going to be in charge of the defense. I kind of broke down my thoughts on Sorensen returning to the Blackhawks when the news first broke. I probably would have preferred him to go back down to Rockford and be the head coach there. I don't know necessarily, even though he said he was open to helping the team in any way possible, I don't know, after being an interim head coach and an NHL assistant, if that would have been like a slap to the face to him or something he wouldn't have truly been willing to do. That would have been the ideal spot for me for Anders Sorensen this season. But at the same point in time, I mentioned I understand keeping him around to kind of continue on that development path that a lot of these young players, the same path they've been on for multiple seasons now. And when Sorensen was the head coach of the Rockford Ice Hogs, they were a quality team, and they were also excellent at developing players, especially on the back end, right? We've seen Alex Vlasic go and develop down in Rockford rather nicely. Ethan Del Mastro was an AHL All-Star in his first year there. Kevin Korchinski looked a lot better last season than he did in his first pro year and was an AHL All-Star as well. Artem Levshinov had a pretty solid first pro season. Sam Rinzel looked really solid up in the NHL when Sorensen was still the interim coach. So in addition to all of those defensemen, he's familiar with just all the young faces in general that the Blackhawks have been focused on developing these last few years. So while I don't know if it was necessarily the ideal spot for Sorensen in my mind, and well, I also would have understood him or the Blackhawks like parting ways with him entirely, it does make sense for a couple of different reasons to bring him back and just be a familiar face that's aided in the development process for a lot of these young players. And now we just don't have to have him in that head coaching role where he was clearly a little bit in over his head. So in terms of the Blackhawks coaching staff, Jeff Blashill wasn't necessarily my ideal candidate for them to target. He wasn't my number one guy out there on the market. But what I will say is I do like the job that he's done in rounding out this assistant coaching staff. I think Mike Velluci was much needed. You needed a seasoned veteran back there behind the bench to help Blashill go about things this season, his first year in Chicago. And then someone like Michael Peca, who I do think is going to help bring some toughness and a hard-nosed mentality to the table. That's really something that he brought to the forefront as a player throughout his playing days. And then definitely in terms of the face-off dot, it's something the Blackhawks need to do a better job of helping their young players out in than they've done in these last couple of seasons. Connor Bedard, Frank Nazar, we know Frondell could potentially be a center iceman, Ryan Green, Oliver Moore, Sacha Boisvert, who could be joining on with the Blackhawks after his sophomore year, right? All of these guys, it's going to be big to help them develop in the faceoff dot. Michael Peca seems like a really good guy to help them in that department as well. So I like what the Blackhawks and what Jeff Blashill has done with this coaching staff thus far. Very interested, though, to see how it's going to play out in terms of the power play and the penalty kill when neither of those assistants have worked in that department in their latest role. But that takes care of my 2 cents on the assistant coach duties that were recently revealed for Jeff Blashill's staff. Coming up in just a moment, before I wrap up today's episode, still want to talk quickly about Derek King becoming the new head coach of the Hershey Bears. I do got to talk real quick, though, about Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving a lot of money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings you your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface, both on your laptop or on your phone. And Monarch does the heavy lifting for you so that you can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. So don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks any longer. Go and use our promo code LOCKEDONNHL in all caps at monarchmoney.com, and you'll also get half off on your first year. Again, that's LOCKEDONNHL in all caps at monarchmoney.com, and you'll also get 50% off on your first year. Back here on the Locked On Blackhawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Just wanted to say thank you to everyone for making Locked On Blackhawks your very first listen. Here to start off your day. For your second listen, make sure to go and check out the Locked On NHL podcast, where there is no offseason, bringing you the daily league-wide stories that matter the most. You can easily find Locked On NHL now on YouTube or wherever you may be listening to your podcasts. Segment 3, know we're running a little bit long here already, so gonna wrap this up pretty quickly, but I did want to mention that, with the Blackhawks cleaning house, aside from Anders Sorensen behind the bench following the end of last season, that meant Derek King would no longer be a part of the organization. And while he gave us some awesome memories along the way, such as the infamous bad shrimp comment and the random, I think, 4-game winning streak the Blackhawks went on to start his tenure, and just altogether the fun and the lightheartedness and the enjoyment that Derek King brought to the table every day, I'm certainly going to miss that. Seemed like a super good dude that all the guys in the locker room love playing for. Definitely did, though, feel like there was a need for the Blackhawks to start fresh and go in a different direction behind the bench. So that's why I kind of felt it was necessary for Derek King to be on his way and go to a different step of his career. Unfortunately, he landed pretty good, landed on his feet rather quickly as he was recently named the new head coach of the Hershey Bears, replacing Todd Nelson, who was my favorite candidate out there for the Blackhawks head coach this summer, although didn't have any previous NHL head coaching experience or legitimate NHL head coaching experience. So didn't seem like he was given all that much of an opportunity out there, and is actually going to be an assistant for the Pittsburgh Penguins this year. Derek King got some big shoes to fill, as Nelson obviously coached the Hershey Bears to 2 Calder Cup championships in his 3 years there, has won 4 Calder Cup titles since the 2016-17 season. But congratulations to Derek King for being the newest coach of the Hershey Bears, his second AHL head coaching gig. Obviously, the first was with the Rockford Ice Hogs. He first joined on with the Ice Hogs organization back in 2016-17, and then wound up being named the interim head coach of the Ice Hogs when Jeremy Colleton was promoted up to the big leagues to replace Joel Quenneville. And then, funny enough, his first NHL head coaching gig came because Jeremy Colleton was fired and he took over as the interim. Wound up, of course, sticking around as an assistant coach these last couple of seasons under Luke Richardson. Wishing Derek King all the best. Had a decent run as the head coach with the Rockford Ice Hogs. I believe his record was right around 500, but certainly glad that he's getting another opportunity in Hershey. I know he's kind of going to have some lofty expectations there, considering how good the team has been for, honestly, years prior to Todd Nelson taking over as the head coach. Hershey, I feel like, has always been one of the best developmental spots in the entire AHL, but super happy that a good guy like Derek King gets another opportunity at that level, gets to be the head honcho as the bench boss for the Hershey Bears moving forward. Wishing him all the best. Will be super fun to see the Ice Hogs. Actually, I don't know if they meet up with the Hershey Bears next season. Oh, they do. I actually broke that down in their schedule not that long ago. I want to say it's like the first time they're facing off with them in a decade or something. Excellent. Should be great to see Jared Nightingale, the new head coach of the Rockford Ice Hogs, face off with the former Ice Hogs bench boss in Derek King. Maybe the first time they face each other will be back at the BMO. But congratulations one final time to Derek King, his second AHL head coaching gig. That's going to close out today's episode of Locked On Blackhawks, everyone. As always, thank you all again for joining me on the show. Be sure to follow Locked On Blackhawks for free wherever you may be listening to your podcast. Subscribe to Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube as well. That way you don't miss out on any of the latest episodes as soon as they're uploaded. Till the next episode, everyone, enjoy the rest of your days. I'll see you next time on the Locked On Blackhawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.